In the month of June, I read 16 books and 6,598 pages. So here's the wrap up. I started the month of June very strong with my reading popular book talk books video. Normally this is the last one on my channel. In this one I read Fourth Ring by Rebecca Yarros, Happy Place by Emily Henry, Daughter of No Wars by Carissa Broadbent, and Minx by Sophie Lark. I gave each of these books 4.5, 3, 3 and 3. I would absolutely recommend you to read Fourth Ring. This book was incredible. It is a story about, yes, dragon. It's just not a fantasy based around dragon. The dragons are actually coming very later on the book. I was expecting them to be there right from the start because everyone was talking about them. But it's in a world where everyone is divided in 4 categories. Either you're a rider, a scribe, a healer, or an infantry. Our main girl, Violette, is actually becoming a rider, and we are following her during all of those trials that she has to go through to become a real rider. And when you become a rider, you have the opportunity to bond with a dragon. In the story, there is a lot of romance involved in it, and it's so freaking great.
2 seconds later.
I never have storage on here. That's insane. After those books, I read my first Parker S. Huntington book, and it was Devious Lies, because I read a little snippet of it on TikTok, and I was like, 2 brothers, why not? I was not expecting this. I actually liked that book. It was kind of dark and twisted because the main male character was not very nice, and there was a lot of revenge. I actually was really entertained while reading it. I ended up giving it a 3 stars, and I don't know how to actually tell you what the book is about because I don't want to spoil anything, and it's kind of, the plot is kind of all over the place because we have flashback of them actually now and then when they were younger. But I'm actually excited to read Darling Venom by her because I think that was her big success, and I really like Dark Romeo by her and LG Chen. Then I was continuing my quest of finishing every single Sarah Adams book. I read To Catch a Suitor, which was it was the continuation of a book about the Regency era. I think the first one was To Crown a Gentleman, and it was a 2 stars because I just didn't like that story. This was kind of a friends to lovers, but it just didn't hit. The main girl was she seemed way too immature. I had trouble with her, and the guy Oliver was just, I couldn't. I really liked the first one. This one was not as great. And then I read The Temporary Roomie, which is the second book after, I think, The Enemy. She's pregnant and she has to live with her best friend's brother. No. First of all, I have a lot of trouble with pregnant women in book, especially if it's the main character. If it's not the main character, I think I'm okay. But like accidental pregnancy, we're gonna talk about it later on. Those kind of thing, it's just not for me, first of all, and I can like it if it's done in a very particular way, and this was not it. I had trouble with the pregnant woman, and sometimes I even forgot that she was pregnant, and then I was reminded. I was like, oh yeah, forgot about that. This one was kind of a disappointment, but at the same time I remember the first book was not incredible, so it was only a 1 star. I then read Her Greatest Adventure by Anna Cohen. This was the second book after A Greatest Mistake, which I read at the beginning of the year, I think, and it was a big surprise because I absolutely loved that book. It was about hockey, and in Her Greatest Adventure, it's not about hockey at all. I thought we were going to continue on the hockey path, but not at all. It's about this girl, which I forgot her name. I always forgot people's name. It's just not getting into my head. But the girl is actually going on her Europe summer hot girl trip. She was supposed to go with her best friend, but for circumstances, her best friend actually cannot go with her, so she ends up going with her brother best friend, which she knows since she was a child. I think there is a bit of an age gap between them, 6 years or 6 or 4 years, like nothing insane. So they're going to Europe together. I love seeing the kind of friendly to really friends, to lovers situation, and just seeing them going on trips and everything was so nice. I really like that book. I think it was a great summer book if you want to read one. I gave this book 3 stars, by the way. Then Reckless got out. So I read Reckless by Elsie Silver, the famous book in the Chestnut Spring series. It is about a pregnant woman. The main theme in this book is accidental pregnancy. I love Theo. He is really nice. I liked Winter. Just the accidental pregnancy is not my thing. It just that the book was great, honestly. It just the main storyline was not something I liked. Honestly, Heartless is still gonna be my absolute favorite. I love this book so freaking much. You have no idea. Then I read a book that I wasn't sure I was gonna love, and it's a 5 stars. I devoured that book. I read it so freaking fast, and it is Love Theoretically by Ellie Hazelwood. Our Miss did it again, because her Love on the Brain was not for me. Didn't like that one. I love Hypothesis, but Love Theoretically, oh my god, the man in that book. It's still about women in STEM, and we have this little rivalry between them because they are on both sides of a big controversy in physics. I love it. It was so well done. After that, and I think I read Love Theoretically while I was reading that book because I needed to take a break. And it was Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. I gave Tessa Bailey another chance because I thought maybe it was the last few books that I didn't like, because I loved It Happened One Summer, but I had so much trouble finishing that book. I probably should have DNF'd it. This book was hard to read for me. I just didn't like any of the characters. I like the scenery. I mean, a vineyard and a little small town. It's always great. And I'm not sure I'm gonna read another Tessa Bailey book because it's been a few that I've tried and I really didn't like them. I really want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber because a lot of people are talking about this, especially about the 4th book that is coming in October, I think. So I really want to read them. But I heard that you had to read the Caravel series. And some people are saying you don't have to. They're just like similarities. So I read the 1st book in Caravel. I gave it 3 stars because I like the storyline. It's just the whole world. I don't know, something was bothering me, but at the beginning I was absolutely into it. It was great, and then I didn't like the end. I just didn't like it. I still gave it 3 stars because it was a great book, but I am not going to continue this series, I think, especially because I think it's the characters. I really didn't feel like I had a connection with them. But I'm happy to have read the 1st book because I was very curious about Caravel, but really I don't think I will read the 2nd book, but I'm so freaking excited to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. Then I finally read This Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan because I read this All of Us like a really long time ago. I had to finish the duology. I really have a problem. I start book series, but I never finish them. I'm gonna read the 1st book, and if I'm really into it, I'm gonna read the 2nd one. Then I stop. Why do I do that? Because now I don't even know how much book series I am in the middle of, but I started a lot of book series that I want to continue. I just don't do it, and that's not normal. This book was not as good as the 1st one. I really liked the first one. It was really good. I was into the story from beginning to the end. In the second one, I had so much trouble getting into it. Towards 70% and it's going all over the place. I was like, why I was doing all of this? There was so many twists and turns. I was like, this is too much, and it's just to get a specific ending that we had to run through all of this. The first one was great, so you should read the first one, honestly. I forgot I read that book. I love it so much. The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer. I had to check because I was like, is it Stephanie Garber? Those names are too similar. But The Wrong Mr. Right. This book was so great. It is based on a small town, which is a beach town. This is a really nice summer book. We are following a main girl who works in a library and she wants to become a hot girl. So she asks this very well-known surfer in our town to actually help her, and in exchange, she's actually helping him with his social media presence because he wants to become a surfer and he needs sponsors. The guy was so great. I really liked him. I really liked the girl. I was so attached to her. And there was this subtle, not very subtle, but like hidden jealousy. I was living for it. This was so great. I love that book. You know what? I have a problem because when I read a book and I loved it, I want to reread it immediately. Like, I've been stopping myself from rereading For Fling and Love theoretically. I just want so bad. I also want to reread Dakota right now. Those books are looking at me in their life. You didn't annotate us. You probably should. But I might do a video where I'm doing very in detail talk about each book. Tell me if you'll be interested in that. But yeah, The Wrong Mr. Right. Incredible. I was good this month in reading book series that I already started because I read the second book in the, I don't know what the series called, but it was Scarlet by Marissa Mayer. This book was really as great as the first one. I am still going through this series. I just love it so much. You have to read it. It is such a grand dystopian take on princess. Well, Scarlet is not a princess, it's a Red Riding Hood life. I just love the way she did that. It was so smart of her. The last book I read in May was Replaying the Game by Emily Tudor. I was not a big fan of this book. It had a tutoring DLG player vibe and it felt very Wattpaddy, just not a great writing overall, and the storyline was not, I didn't feel a connection between them. The storyline was not great. It was very descriptive. At some point I was like, there is literally no talk between you two, but there is 3 whole paragraphs about her room and what it looks like. I don't care. We're not in a fantasy book where I need to know what the walls looks like. I don't care what your room looks like, just say it's beige. But I think it was her debut novel. I don't know if it was her debut novel or if it was self-published, but at least for now I was not a big fan of it. So that's it for my June reads. I hope you had fun watching it. What did you read this month and what was your favorite book? I would say my favorite book this month obviously is Love Theoretically, and my biggest surprise would be probably The Wrong Mr. Right, because I didn't have a lot of expectation going into this. If you're interested, you can follow me on my social. Everything is in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe, put a thumbs up. That would help me a lot, and I will see you very soon. Bye!